Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Not Top 25 here from the Chesterfield living room / Keaton's room. Once again, we are cameramanless, so we had to improvise due to the ridiculous, impeccable, whatever word you want to use, slate that we had this past weekend and what's to come in a wild, wacky college basketball season that's only going to get more ridiculous throughout the season. And I'm running out of words to describe it. It's an undescribable year. What we've seen so far, a little bit top heavy, but so much talent, so much on the line, and a lot to look forward to, Keaton.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great weekend of basketball. We got a lot of stuff to go over, and I look forward to hearing your takes and spilling my takes out there for the people.
Yeah, and before we get there, a little not top 25 recap. I'd like to mention, I'm glad we're doing this episode to prove to our viewers, especially the ones on Instagram, that I am not homeless. Finally got a haircut and shaved the stash. So unfortunately, the stash never made it to the podcast realm, but according to a lot of feedback, maybe that's a good thing.
I thought it looked fine, but the other roommates had a problem with it. You do you,
Yeah.
bro. Who cares?
They have a problem with anything. You are
Yeah,
currently blowing up on TikTok right now with your Dickie V reel. Shout out to you. Finally getting
yeah.
our foot in
Go
the
ahead.
TikTok world.
Yeah, yeah. If you people haven't checked out our TikTok yet, it's not as popular as the Instagram. So if you have TikTok and you're listening right now, go ahead and give us a follow on TikTok at Not Top 25. I made a Dickie V skit of point of view, your sleep paralysis demon is Dickie V, and it's blown up pretty big. So go give it a like if you haven't already, and go give it a follow if you haven't already.
One thing I've noticed about our reels is that we've really welcomed in the fan bases that have suffered in March Madness the past few years. It's really been like a, kind of like a therapy session for Kentucky, Virginia, Purdue, all these programs that have taken one on the chin to lesser programs in March and really been a safe space for a lot of these people. So I'm glad we've bonded together a little. What's the opposite of Cinderella? Did Cinderella have like a villain? I've never been a huge Disney person.
I
Whatever.
don't know, to be honest with you. I have no clue,
I
but
have
I get what you're saying.
a Goliath Anonymous there in the Not Top 25 Instagram caption. But speaking of some of these Goliaths, let's talk about what occurred this past weekend. We had a Final Four preview in Houston, Texas, and along with Washington, D.C. I watched probably 75% of the Houston game before the old nap bug hit me. And you got to watch the whole game, and you had a strong take about Arizona. You were very complimentary of them. And by the way, we have some bonus clips that from our attempt on Friday where I did predict Arizona and Duke. I just want to throw that out there to the viewers. Finally got one.
Yeah, Trey went 2-0 on these games. He said that Friday night. I will give him his flowers for that. But as far as this Houston Arizona game, Houston just kind of seemed like they came out a little flat. And I don't know if they kind of thought, or kind of underestimated Arizona, if you will, just because Koa Pete wasn't playing and they knew Burries was coming back from the flu. So I don't really know if they thought they could just go out there and kind of have an easy game, but you're never going to get that against Arizona. And all those guys that they have really stepped up. Del Orso had a hell of a game. He's a great player. They beat Houston at home, which is a huge quad one win. I believe that's 1A, which, I think puts them at the top of the list for quad one wins, as well as Duke is up there. But I mean, they played a hell of a game from start to finish. Defense was great. They shot the ball well. They passed the ball well. I mean, just all around game. And Houston's got a lot to figure out. And they don't have a lot of time to figure it out just because that Big 12 tournament is a gauntlet. And I mean, they don't have much time till March. So Arizona looked really well, and Houston has a lot to figure out. And that's my take on the game.
And a couple of things in regards to Arizona. The sign of a great team is their ability to bounce back after a loss, right? Arizona hosted College Game Day the week before. Huge atmosphere, big time showcase for a program that's not really on national television a lot, or at least for us East Coast people. We don't get to watch them that much.
Right.
And that was a lot of people's first taste of Arizona, really, after, all the football people coming back after the Super Bowl. They're seeing, the number one team in the country, College Game Day, and they laid an egg against Texas Tech. And it's fair to say they laid a complete egg. They blew an opportunity at home to put the nation on notice, and they really rebounded this week against a great – has there been a program that has been more consistent the past 5-ish post-COVID? Let me word this differently. Has there been a program more consistent post-COVID who hasn't won a national title other than Houston? Because they are always a 1 seed. They're always there. So well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other than Duke, no, not really. I feel like they're one and the same. I do want to mention the Big 12 has been a dog eat dog this year. Like, Houston just lost to Iowa State. Iowa State lost to BYU last night. Arizona lost to Texas Tech, like you said. They came back and beat Houston, who's the number 2 ranked team. I mean, anybody can come out of the Big 12, and it's going to be an exciting conference tournament, probably the best conference tournament.
Speaking of the Big 12, how about Kansas? what was going on there in Fog Allen? It's a well-known secret at this point that they don't lose home games midweek. But Saturdays, I guess, is a different story because Cincinnati walked in that trap and took it over. And that was one of the more bizarre results of this calendar year in college basketball by far.
Yeah, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw a stat on ESPN that said that was their biggest home loss by point margin in, like, 40 years or something crazy like that. So, I mean, Cincinnati's not even remotely good. I mean, they've been getting beat on by everybody they've played since the get-go of this season. I think they lost their best player in, like, November. So, I mean, there's just no excuse for that. Darren Peterson didn't play that well. It doesn't look like, his name is very well spoken of out there at the moment. So I'm kind of interested to see where they end up come conference tournament time and then in March, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know. Kansas is in a weird spot right now with the whole Peterson dilemma, and it's really unfortunate because they are a talented team. Actually, not really that unfortunate. I'm not a big. All the blue bloods sort of have a little beef with each other, so screw them. They're only 5 games behind us in the all-time
I
win.
mean, I mean, any Bill Self coach team is a good team. You have to give them their
Of
roses
course,
there. Let's be real. Let's be realists for a minute. They're a good team. They have talent, but Peterson's the problem.
I'll take off the hater cap. Yeah, I want to. Is he the problem, or is he just getting bad? He's an 18-year-old kid at the end of the day. I think he's just getting bad memos from people around him. Likewise, a Jaden Quaintance and a Mikel Brown maybe that are just telling him like, "Hey man, like, look, the NIL bag's cute. There's a bigger bag down the road waiting for you in New York for being a lottery pick." So it sucks that there's people like that that ruin college basketball because he is a great talent. We want to see him on the court. But I mean, Kansas has got to figure something out if he's going to be a problem down the road because this can't continue. This whole circus surrounding him can't continue come the big dance.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel. I think they've got a lot to figure out themselves. Nonetheless, they're still top 10 in the country. They're a good team, and I think they will figure it out come March. And who knows, he might flip a switch in conference tournament or late in the season and just end up being a player that everybody loves down there in
Yeah.
Kansas. I want to move on from Kansas, and I want to get into this Michigan and Duke game. That was a great game, start to finish. Yaxel Lindenborg was like 8 for 9 in the first half. He went off in the first half. Cam Boozer is a generational player. He is great. I think I will agree with your take earlier. You said in the season that he's better than
Thank
Cooper
you.
Flagg. I think he is hands down just the most complete player in college basketball. He can guard, he can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he can do it all. I mean, his dad was you know, had a good career in the NBA, and thanks to him, Duke got it done at a neutral site. But I'm not going to sell Michigan short. They played really good. I think they could have got a little bit more out of Cadeau. He didn't play well. I think he was like 1 for 7 at half, maybe.
He had a bad game.
He had a really bad game. So I'm not going to count them out by any means. I think if he has a game where he even plays half as good, then the outcome might have been different. But Duke is the number one team in the country, and they deserve it.
Yeah, they definitely put the college basketball world on notice. Very unique situation there. And we talked about it on Friday night about how I imagined that crowd to be a very pro Duke crowd. And you heard Let's Go Dukes circulating throughout that arena from start to finish. It was
Mhm.
definitely an 80-20 Duke crowd. When Duke plays at home, there's no stopping them. I mean, that Cam Boozer, Yaxel Lindenborg matchup was very. I kind of went to the throwback machine here a little bit. It reminded me a lot of watching. This is a crazy pull, but the Jabari Parker Andrew Wiggins matchup in the Champions Classic from 2013, just two,
Mhm.
high profile players, two future Wooden Award candidates going at it. And it was really neat to see. I still don't know why they had that game. The whole game day thing was a little bit corny too. We talked about our distaste for the basketball game day and how that needs to be improved. That can be a different segment. But to stick on the topic, Duke just has so many weapons too. I love Slim Evans. I've been a fan of his for a year and a half now. I thought he was a great piece to go along with Kahn and Cooper last year. And now he's stepped
Mhm.
more of like a leadership veteran role, play alongside Cam Boozer. And there's just a comfort on the court when Cam Boozer's there. I feel like he elevates everyone's game, and it's crazy to see a power forward do that because that's usually what a point guard does.
Well, I was gonna say Caleb Foster's their glue guy. He's a great guard. He can defend the ball so well. He doesn't shoot the ball much, but when he does, he usually hits his shots. He knows his role in that team, and I really think he's their glue guy. He does a lot of stuff for them that doesn't end up on the stat sheet at the end of the day, and he had a good game last night. So, I mean, all in all, I think they are the best team in the country. They need to, the ACC is better than it was last year, but it's not a gauntlet like the Big 12 is this year, and I think they're gonna have no problem sailing to a 1 seed and holding that number 1 spot in the country up until tournament time.
Yeah, I think they're going to coast their way to a 1 seed. I'm blanking on his name. and I want to give him a shout out. It was the token Duke white guy, number 14, I believe. He was crashing the boards. I mean, from start to finish, he is really just, I feel like every Duke team needs one token white guy that everyone hates. I'm ashamed I don't know what his name is.
I've got 2 more games I wanna go over just from last night. The next one being BYU against Iowa State. It's like we're talking about, the Big 12 is a gauntlet. BYU just lost Richie Saunders to a ACL injury, and they didn't skip a beat. They beat Iowa State by 10. I wasn't expecting that at all. I figured Iowa State was riding that high of beating Houston on Tuesday, and they just came out kinda flat. I didn't watch the entire game just because it was so late where we're at, but, I mean, DeBansta played a good game, and those guys came through when it mattered most. They faced some adversity losing Richie Saunders, and they came through, so that's a really good win for BYU.
100%. And it is frustrating as a Kentucky guy to see BYU elevating their program post the new era, the new coaching regime in BYU following their
Yeah.
previous. Yeah, Richie is definitely a tough blow. Some other tough injuries. I mean, obviously Caleb Wilson, Carolina took care of business against a terrible Syracuse team, but they correct me if I'm wrong, they took one on the chin midweek, right?
They just lost to Miami, but he played that game. They didn't take one off the chin this week, no. They're
Okay,
21-6.
gotcha. That's probably a fair 4 or 5 seed range for Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know if the committee's gonna take into account the fact that Caleb Wilson might be out the rest of the year. I think they probably will. They've got a tough week this week. They play Louisville on Tuesday, which it's at UNC, but nonetheless, not having Caleb Wilson is a big loss regardless of who you're playing. But yeah, I think a 5 is a good spot for them.
100%. What was the other game you were looking to mention?
Illinois at UCLA. I guess all that shit that Mick Cronin talked got under those boys' asses because they came out and they played a really good game. First half, Illinois got up like 18 within the first 10 minutes, and they just kept chopping wood and brought it back in. They sent it to overtime, and Donovan Dent hit that game winner, just took it coast to coast. Illinois is another team that, they've got a lot of hype around them, but I'm kind of worried about them after that UCLA loss just because they had the win in their hands from the get go. They were up 18 with like 10 minutes into the game, and they just kind of let UCLA come back and just progressively hit shots down the stretch. And I mean, ultimately they lost. I know they're a good team. They've got a bunch of those European guys and they play good team basketball, quote unquote. But I mean, you can't lose to a UCLA team who got 30 pieced twice last week. I mean, they got beat by like 30 by Michigan State, and then I believe they lost by like 20 to a team before that. So, I mean, if you're a top 10 team, that's a really bad loss. On the other hand, that's a great win for UCLA and Mick Cronin.
It looks like Mick needed one. I'm a little worried about Mick there at
Yeah.
post game interviews, going after the young reporter asking I guess a below average question, but very inappropriate reaction there from old Mick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nonetheless, he's a professional. He shouldn't treat a young kid like that, even if the question wasn't that good of a question. Still, like, give the kid some grace. He's probably younger than us.
who would you say like Mick Cronin's college football? That was a little bit of a Gundy type of
I was
answer.
thinking Gundy, but like Gundy's a likable guy. Mick
Yeah,
Cronin's
Gundy's
just
more charismatic.
yeah, like I might as well call Mick Cronin Prick Cronin. That might as well be his nickname at this point because every time I see him in the media or a video of him, it's just him making a complete fool out of himself. I know he coached at Murray State. I grew up around Murray State. I wish I could like the guy, but I just don't like the way he presents himself.
Fair enough. Yeah, when that game was going on, I had my eyes on the dumpster bowl in Auburn, Alabama. Two teams fighting for Dayton, throwing mouth breathing as the ball is up in the air. That was a rough watch. Congrats to your Cards taking care of business this Saturday after a rough showing that Tuesday. Y'all bounced back, unlike your counterpart hour east of you in Kentucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was an all-time hate watch for me. That was really fun to watch just because you went to Auburn and obviously all of our roommates are UK fans, including you. So it was just kind of a really funny dynamic, to watch it happen and,
When
and
those
unfold.
when those two teams face each other in football or basketball, it's always a weird dynamic. Like I get crap from both sides. It's like
Right.
who's Trey gonna? And I would just like to say that me, Auburn, and Kentucky are like a throuple at this point. We understand each other. We understand my fandom where it aligns and where it goes for particular sports. So there's no we have it taken care of. Y'all just mind your own business. Some other teams I'd like to discuss before we talk about what the committee just released is I'd like to give a shout out to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Unfortunately, I mean, Acuff and Malik Thomas are ridiculous. What we
I was
witnessed, I know it wasn't this past weekend, but that Bama game was the game of the year this past Wednesday, and it deserves recognition. I mean, Phylon and Acup put on a performance that I haven't seen two players put on in a college basketball game since the likes of Malik Monk and Justin Jackson did in Vegas in 2017 for the CBS Classic. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was an amazing game to watch, and, I also just wanna give them a shout out and say this: if I'm an NBA scout, I'm looking at LeBaron Philon and Darius Acuff. I mean, there's no way you coulda watched that game and not take those guys like top 10 lottery pick regardless. Like, those 2 guys are gonna be great in the NBA, and they went bucket for what, 50 minutes? What was it, double overtime? Like, dude, I mean, that was an all-time classic between 2 great teams and 2 great coaches as well.
Yeah, those two didn't leave the court either. But Arkansas and Bama, unfortunately, did not make the cut for the top 16 teams that the committee just released. And I guess we'll just go down the line here, starting region by region. In the Midwest region in Chicago, this may switch up after what we witnessed on Saturday, but Michigan is the number one overall seed, with their 2 through 4 being Houston, Florida, and Virginia in that order. I think if you're Michigan, you want to end up in Chicago. I would assume that's close to Ann Arbor. I'm not a Midwest guy, but that'd probably be a very pro-blue crowd there. Tough travels for the other schools, and Florida doesn't travel in general. They're the SEC school who travels the least, just probably due to proximity, but their fan base is pretty, I mean, compared to other SEC schools, not to be harsh, but weak. And
Right.
Houston fans are awesome. I told you my stories from the Final Four, and that deserves its own tale at one day.
Oh, I also wanna say, I don't mean to cut you off, I just
Yeah,
wanna
go
say
ahead.
this: watching that Arizona-Houston game yesterday with the analyst, doing the commentary, there was some fan who was close enough in proximity to the commentators that the mic was picking up everything he said, and it just proved your point even more about how crazy they are. He was dropping F-bombs, like, going against every call that the refs made that went against Houston. Like, it was so funny to listen. Yeah, those fans are crazy, and regardless of where they end up, their fans are gonna be there for sure.
Gotcha. But I mean, in regards to those seedings, I think that's appropriate for those four. And let's go out east, which will be in Washington, D.C., which, after what we witnessed on Saturday, if you're a Duke fan with these other regions, please, where do we sign up to go back to D.C.? I would assume there's a lot of douchey Duke alums working in D.C., and they are the 1 seed in that East region, along with Illinois, who's, I mean, this is the most Duke thing ever. Just an unbelievable matchup for all of them here. Illinois at the 2, Kansas at the 3, and Vandy at the 4, respectively. We don't know what's going to talk about earlier. Don't know what's going to happen with Peterson. Duke, I think, will roll in that. And then Vandy at the 4. They took one on the chin against Tennessee. They probably won't stay at the 4 line now, but classic Duke cupcake road to the Final Four.
I did wanna talk about that game, and since we moved on, I won't say too much, but I just wanna say that was a great game. Dick Vitale was on the call. Dickie V, I love you, man. Um,
It's,
the
it's Slick
like,
Ricky, baby.
the last 2 or 3 minutes of that game was just bucket for bucket, man. That was fun to watch. Boswell had a good, like, last 2 or 3 minutes of that game, and he ultimately won on that game with, shots down the stretch, so that was a really good win for Tennessee.
Gotcha. Moving on to the South region in Houston, of all places. Again, there's probably going to be some rumblings and changes here, but Iowa State they have on the 1 line. I guess if you're Iowa State with these, I mean, obviously you'd rather have Chicago, but that's going to belong to the Wolverines. This is a tough draw. Good Lord. You got UConn at the 2.
Oof.
Maybe not. I lied. Nebraska, who I think is a great story. I don't. They need to win one in March. They've never won one as a program in March Madness. But being fresh, I guess that didn't matter for Indiana in football, but maybe it'll matter in basketball. Nebraska there at the 3 line, and then JT Toppinless Texas Tech at the 4 line.
Yeah, that's a I don't know, that's an interesting one. I feel like any of those top 3 seeds could come out of there, and who knows, like, even a 5 or 6 could maybe make a run at, like, an Elite 8 in that bracket as well. I mean, UConn's there. I know they lost in the round of 32, but I've got a lot of faith in them. Nebraska, I don't really know yet. I haven't watched them enough. Iowa State's obviously good, even though they took one off the chin to BYU. They beat Houston. They're a good team.
I will say, if I am a 5 through 8 seed, I would, if I had the pick of the crop of these 4, I would prefer this one.
Yeah,
But
for
if,
sure.
let's say, in a crazy world, this were to be the case, I would take UConn to cut down the nets in Houston.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Gotcha. So moving on to San Jose in the West region. I don't think it doesn't matter where Arizona finishes out the year. If they're on the 1 line, they're going to end up in San Jose. So they're the 1 over there alongside Purdue at the 2, Gonzaga at the 3, and Michigan State at the 4. I think this is going to be the region of death. No, it's not. The Midwest, again, with that were to be the case, Houston and Florida. This is the second region of death. These two definitely stand out against the East and the South, but I think Arizona is going to take care of business if this were to be the case and cut down the nets in San Jose.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a cakewalk for them, respectfully to all those other 3 top seeds in that bracket, but I'm not sold on Gonzaga. They took a tough loss to, like, a sub-500 Portland team in conference play. I kinda put them in the same boat as Miami of Ohio. Like, if you lose a conference game just because you're in that conference, like, that looks really, really, really bad, regardless of who you beat prior. Purdue, they're hit or miss. I feel like they have games where they're really well, and they have games where you're kinda like, "What the hell?" And then Michigan State, they could be there. I mean, Izzo in March, you know what I mean? But I think ultimately Arizona's probably a safe bet to come out of there.
But Keaton, let me ask you this: is that not the case with Purdue every year? I feel like they're the ultimate tease. Like they'll give you a fantastic regular season, and it's just like they're so unathletic compared to these other. They get away with it in the Big Ten because the Big Ten's corn fed and European guys. Then they get up against the athletes of the likes of the SEC and Big 12, and it's just too much, and the Big East as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, all this is obviously matchup dependent. It wouldn't surprise me if they got upset by any means. Honestly, the same goes for Gonzaga. I mean, I don't really know. I think this is another one of those brackets where if you're a 5 through 8 seed, you've got a pretty safe bet to run the table or make a deep runs. That's my take for that region.
Gotcha. Okay, now let me ask you this one. Now that we know these top 16 teams, I would like to hear you list, as of today, which is February 22nd. A month from today, we'll be kicking off the round of 64. Who would you say is your national champion as of today? A surprise team that's not from this list of 16, and then a disappointment from this list of 16.
Okay, so I know I said Duke was the best team in the country, and I have a lot of high praise for Shire and Boozer and the rest of those guys on that squad. But after watching Arizona play Houston yesterday, I'm gonna have to say Arizona. I think Tommy Lloyd's a great coach. Koa Pete didn't even play yesterday, and Burries is coming back from a flu injury. He's their leading scorer. He didn't play well at all. I don't think he scored till like 8 minutes left in the game. And like I said, Koa Pete didn't play. Their role players and their third and fourth options stepped up tremendously, and they got a probably one of the best road wins you can possibly have in the country right now. That kind of solidified it for me. I mean, once they're firing on all cylinders, I don't know if anybody can beat them just based off what I saw yesterday. So I would go with Arizona as of today to win the national championship. A team that's not in the top 4 seeds that I would take to go on a deep run. You mentioned them earlier. I really like Arkansas. I mean, guard play in March is what matters. And I think they've got decent enough bigs to hold the line for them down the stretch in these games. And I think Acuff is just going to have a Cinderella March, man. I think he's built for it. And I know Cal the last 4 or 5 years hasn't been what he was in, like, say, the 20s, mid 2010s, but I think he's got his swagger back, and I think this team is really, really, really good. So I'm going to go with Arkansas for like a deep run. And then a team that'll disappoint, I mentioned them earlier, man. I'm not too sold on Illinois after what I saw last night. I mean, their inability to close games against I'm not going to say a bad team, but a middle of the pack team and ultimately lose that game. Like, I just feel like it all kind of fell apart for them. And, the teams that they play in March are going to be better and better every round. Like, say they do that in a Sweet 16 game, there's no coming back from that. So I feel like Illinois is kind of prone to maybe around a 32 or a Sweet 16 exit. I think they might disappoint. I'm interested to hear your takes as well on this.
Buckle up. Well, I think you said Arizona is your national champion. I'm going to go Duke. I had this take in one of our rapid reacts roughly around middle of December. I was a prisoner of the moment after their Texas Tech defeat, saying that this is a Duke team that would rumble into like a Lehigh type of L. Boy, was I wrong. I think this Duke team just has it all. They're the most talented team in the country, in my opinion. They can shoot the lights out of the ball. And they just have a guy in Cam Boozer that is just, I mean, for lack of better terms, unstoppable. He is just your perfect March player, reliable, smart, clutch. Not to use coach speak, but I'm sure he's coachable. I mean, he's
Right.
learning from his dad who played in the NBA.
Of
He's just
course.
full package, man. He's a coach's dream. And I think he, alongside the athletes around him and the shooting around him, will carry Duke to the Final Four in Indianapolis, which is a place also. I'm a big feel guy for March Madness. And when you list out these names later, I'll talk about that. But big feel, Duke runs Indianapolis. They have 3 of their 5 national titles are in the city of Indianapolis, with
Mhm.
2010 and 2015 being the most recent. And now we're back in Indy, just a recipe for a Duke national title. They've been knocking on the door. I think this is the one where Shire finally gets it, and Duke will be cutting down the nets. And then my biggest surprise, I'm going to stick in the SEC, but counter you by saying the Alabama Crimson Tide are going to some things up in March Madness. They're going to be a 5 or 6 seed, maybe the 7 line, and F someone's season up, dude. These guys can put up points in numbers. LeBaron Philon is a unbelievable player. Aiden Holloway, I just have a feel that this kid's going to catch fire come March. They got athletes. They play fast. Nate Oates has already been to a Final Four, so they got the coaching experience to pull off
Mhm.
BS. This just screams Bama. I'm trying to think of a 1 seed they would like an Iowa State, right? They would face them and just randomly catch fire. Just and Bama teams under Nate Oates just always find ways to win. They get a favorable win.
Mhm.
I think Oates is a great manipulator, as you can see by his press conferences, and their players know how to work the officials, draw the fouls, and they're frustrated.
Right.
And they're going to find one way or another to screw someone's season up and get to the Final Four
Okay.
or Elite Eight. Let's say Elite.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
say.
I like it. I like that take. That
And
run and
then
gun, baby, it works for them.
and then my disappointing team, and this is going to shock everyone, the Florida Gators.
Really.
I think despite how hot they are now, they are going to lose in the round of 32. And this is a feel pick. 2021, Baylor cuts down the nets. The next year, loses in the round of 32. Let's stay chronological here. Kansas, 2022, cuts down the nets. 2023, round of 32 exit. UConn,
Mhm.
2024 national champs. 2025, round of 32. Villanova, 2016 national champs, 2017, round of 32. It's something about that second game when you're the defending national champion is always bizarre and always ends in an exit. And I think that trend will continue. I think Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan, despite how well they're playing now, are going to shoot Florida out of the game in one of these March Madness games. I don't think Boogie played for Arkansas last March, so this will be his first time in the big dance alongside Xavier Lee going from an Ivy League conference tournament in a high school gym to playing in front of the entire nation. I think it'll be too much for those two, and they will shoot Florida out of the game, and they will lose in the round of 32.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, I like what you said about their guards. They don't I mean, Boogie Flan's good, don't get me wrong. Xavier Lee, he's a player, but they don't have a guy like Walter Clayton who they can just give the ball to and go get a bucket. So I honestly, I'm kinda on board with you on that. You kinda just sold me on that, to be quite honest with you. Another team that's on this top 16 that I just wanna say that I feel like is gonna be a disappointment just because of injury is Texas Tech. Losing JT Toppin's critical for them, like, that's just a heartbreaking loss. So, you know, they probably won't end up being a top 4 seed when it's all said and done, but as of how it is today that the, committee laid out, I feel like they're gonna be a disappointing team as well. But you said Duke is gonna be your national champions. I have a few more teams that I'm interested in hearing your advice on how far they go and just what game they get to, what round they get to, whatever it may be. The first team is I'm gonna start out with my national championship pick. I'm gonna go with Arizona. I wanna hear what you gotta say.
National runner-ups.
Okay, so you're saying Duke, Arizona, Natty?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's gonna run the course at this point. I don't hate that at all. Second team on this list is UConn.
Elite Eight,
Arkansas.
Sweet 16,
This one's funny. What about the Billikens from St. Louis? Robbie Avila. How do we feel?
on a 64. The days of Cinderella are long gone, buddy. This is Chalkapalooza,
I hate to see it. I wish the Billikens would do well.
round of 64.
Really? Okay.
DeBonsa, he is 1 foot out the door. And I know they won on Saturday. I had this take on Friday dialed up. I'm going to stand by it, even though they won yesterday. He's 1 foot out the door, ready for the league. They're probably going to be a 6 seed. No Richie Saunders. He's going to get to that March Madness game, be like, what am I doing?
Round
Lose
of
11 seed. Yeah.
round of 64 loss to Miami of Ohio.
Mm.
The next team up, I've got 2 more teams. I've got Purdue. I want to hear what you got about them.
Round of 32.
Yeah.
Enough, man. And I know Braden Smith is an unbelievable player, but Fletcher Lawyer is so inconsistent, and he has been for 4 years. I have no faith in him. Same with Trey Kaufman-Wren. I'm not sold on those two guys to wheel you to a Final Four. I'm just not.
Okay. All right.
And I like
All
Matt
right.
Painter. Honestly, I'd rather have them in the Final Four than I don't like Hurley and UConn. I obviously don't like Duke. I hope I'm wrong about them winning the Natty. I would prefer a team like Purdue, but I have no faith in them.
That's totally understandable. I will say I like Trey Coppin though. Every stat line I see him, he's almost got a triple double. You know, he's got like 20 points, 8 assists, 8 boards. And I'm like, okay, I like this guy. So I
Talking of
think he's a good glue guy for them, is all I'm saying. I saw something that Barstool posted, and it was about Purdue. It was like they are the rich white AAU basketball team of college basketball. They go out there in their nice warm ups. They got a white kid who can shoot. I can't remember all the. Oh, it's like the shoes. Their shoes are all nice. The analogy was just funny to hear.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but what happens when the all white AAU team plays against like team Chris Paul, who's full court pressing you at an 8 a.m. gym? It's not a recipe that those teams like, and I think that's going to be the case. I mean, dude, look what happened. Like they did give Houston a game last year, but like they're never going to beat a team like Houston in March. I can't see a world where that happens.
That's fair. That's a fair take. And then the last team on this list is St. John's, Ricky P and the Red Storm. What do you think?
Screw it. Ricky P last year, first round exit or first weekend exit rather. This year he gets the Elite Eight, knocks one last Ricky P hurrah. Bryce Hopkins is a guy that's been playing college basketball for a decade. And I think he, alongside the rest of that team, will be able to get to the Elite Eight. Not over the hump for the Final Four, but I can see Ricky P and the boys going on. They have some great wins this year, so also
They
some bad
do.
losses, but I'm also a big believer in if you're playing well towards the end of the year, they are.
Yeah, they are. Man, let's get Ricky P in the Final Four. Screw it,
Oh,
man.
shoot,
Come on
man.
now. Come on now.
So you were a bit skeptical about or not skeptical, you understood it, the Duke national title pick. I think honestly, and this may be a bit of a stretch here, I would say this Duke team is, in terms of teams dominated by freshmen, might be a generational young team.
I mean, yeah, they play well together. I mean, Caden Boozer, the poor guy. He plays well as well, but he just gets so overshadowed by his big brother. I know they're twins, but that's his big brother. But he's good too, man. And like I mentioned, Caleb Foster earlier, Isaiah Evans, like they've got a great team.
Gotcha. I'm going to go down the list of some old Duke teams from the past because they've had some insane clubs over the past, 15 years. And I'm going to get your opinion on who do you think is better, this year's Duke team or these previous Duke teams? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go the Wayback Machine to 2010, led by one John Shire, joined alongside Nolan Smith and Kyle Singler. This national champion Duke team, with their coach running the show, are they better than this team today?
I'm gonna base it off this. That's when they beat Butler, right?
Correct.
They barely beat Butler by a couple inches off a shot off the rim. I think this year's Duke team would beat that Butler team by 30 points, respectfully. Love you, Gordon Hayward. You're an all-star, but I think this Duke team is so much better than that team.
Speaking of fraudulent Duke national title teams, let's go to the most fraudulent national titles in the history of the sport. The 2015 Duke team, led by one Jahlil Okafor and Tyus Jones. We all know what would have happened if douchebag Frank Kaminsky and those boys decided to not hit shots the couple nights before. But is this Duke team that cut down the nets over a decade ago better than today's Duke team?
I do, just because I think their guards are better. You had Quinn Cook, who had a great year or a great career in the NBA. Tyus Jones is still playing in the NBA. Justice Winslow played in the NBA. And honestly, I think Jahlil Okafor matches up pretty well with Boozer. So I think that 2015 team is better than this year's Duke team.
Okay. That's are you saying that just because you bumped into Quinn Cook at 51st Deli?
That's my guy. That was my guy. He was cool as hell. That was my guy.
All right. Well, this one I'm curious to hear because they had their weaknesses. They were very top heavy, but one of the more talented and fun college basketball teams of our lifetime, the 2019 Duke Blue Devils, led by a guy named Zion Williamson.
Yeah, they were very top heavy. I think this year's Duke team is better than that team just for the sake that they should have lost that round of 32 game to UCF with Taco Fall. They fumbled that game, but they were down with a minute left in that game. They should have lost that game. I think this year's Duke team is better than that team.
I agree. And go more recently, let's go the 2024-25 Duke Blue Devils. Last year's Duke team versus this year's Duke team. I think this is the one team I would say would beat the living, but you said Okafor, and no shot. But Okafor and them, they went 6 deep. They had a Mickey Mouse run to Indy. They played Michigan, a 7-seed Michigan State in the Final Four, and then didn't have to play Kentucky. Mickey Mouse team, they would not have held their own with this Duke team. But last year's Duke team, boy, I know just
I mean, the 2015 team won a national championship for the reason. You can't sell them short at all. I mean,
yeah.
they had 5 or 6 guys play in the NBA and make careers out of it. So
Do you guys remember the road to the Final Four?
I'm gonna agree to disagree with you on this one, man, respectfully. But I would agree with you on the fact that I think last year's Duke team is better than this year's Duke team. I think when it's all said and done, 15, 20 years from now, that's going to be one of the teams that was like, how did they not win the national championship? Because Con Knippel and Cooper Flagg, like if they had a co-rookie of the year in the NBA, both of those guys should get it. But unfortunately, only one guy can win. But I mean, they're battling it out for rookie of the year. They gave us a generational game a couple weeks ago when the Mavs played the Hornets. I mean, those 2 guys, along with everybody else who's on that team, that was just a great team, all in all. You know, it wasn't just top heavy like that 2019 team. So I'm going to ultimately say that last year's team was better than this year's team, but not by much. Not by much.
Yeah, and that like when I say Cam Boozer's a better college player than Cooper Flagg, like it is like barely, and it's not like I'm saying but like this other pieces. Common Malawak was a lottery pick. Con Knippel was the 4th pick in the draft. I mean that Duke team last year, like Duke's gonna have Cam Boozer get drafted in the top 3 to 5. I'm not sure off the top of my head if they will have another lottery pick. That Duke team last year had 3, and then they had other dudes. Tyrese Proctor was a great player.
Yeah,
You made a great point. They're going to go down in infamy as one of the teams that, like, how the hell did they not win the national title?
I agree, man. I agree wholeheartedly. That
Dare I
team was
say
the team was special.
it's up there with like 91 UNLV and 2015 Kentucky level. Like, how the hell did you not cut down the nets?
Only time will tell, bro. That's why I put it in that perspective, just because I mean, we don't know yet. I think both those guys will have amazing NBA careers more than they already are. But Tyrese Proctor, I forgot about him too, man. He was a hell of a shooter. Like that team was great. But I think Shire's a good coach. You know, he's got another really good team under his belt this year. So I think he's gonna fix a lot of mistakes that he made last year.
And I feel like John Shire, right? Like, you got to be kind of a psychopath to accept the role that he did. And it's the same thing with Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Following up that level of a legend at a school is a daunting task. And him willing to do that just proves he's kind of a psycho and up for any challenge possible. So he's going to welcome this smoke that happens. And there's going to be a lot if this Duke team doesn't cut down the nets. Because think about who he's going to have had coached in his only, 4 or 5 years short term and not cut down the nets.
Yeah.
Cooper Flack, Con Knippel, Jerry McCain, Flip, like all these dudes, not one ring. It's time for John Shire to cut down the nets. And I think
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's almost destiny, like you said. They've won 3 out of their 5 in Indianapolis. Like it's some things are just predetermined, and I think this is one thing that might be destiny.
yeah, pretty crazy saying that it's time for a coach this young in his career. But when you're coaching at a school like Duke, it's appropriate. It's reached the 40-minute mark. Any takes to close us off here before we call it a night? I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, this has been a good episode. I feel like we got a lot of good topics out of the way, and we touched on a lot of subjects. So I'm glad we did this as well. My only take is Kentucky's not going to make the tournament.
Well, that'll be a good take to close off the night. Thank you all for watching. Follow us on our socials at Not Top 25. That seems to be where we've gotten to meet a lot of you guys. So we are also a sports podcast. We're not a couple sway boys of the sports world. We're a dual threat. We're a Swiss Army knife of sports content, and you're more than welcome to join us in any facet of the sports content world that your heart desires. So thank you guys from Instagram to here for tuning in, and there will be a lot more content coming soon, and this is just the beginning. 1 million views in 30 days on Instagram alone, Keaton.
Clap it up.
Thank you
Clap
guys.
it up. Clap it up. Thank y'all. Peace.
Deuces.